to go back to Zimbabwe so that we could sort of work with them. And I'm thinking as to how best can we work together with people like you who are so committed to the diaspora community and who are so passionate about what is happening back home in working or in sort of attracting the diaspora community to go and contribute back at home. Thank you. So that's so much.
The lady there, if you can keep it very brief so we can ask as many questions as possible.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present this question. I just want to comment initially to say this is an excellent event and thank you to the organizers for making it possible. I also want to just make another comment before I ask my question, which is that the media exposure on Zimbabwe has rendered the country to a thorough beating. And I think our self-esteem and our self-worth as a country and as individuals has been thoroughly battered. Some of the things that you've been talking about, wonderful Minister, are very encouraging. We don't hear those stories. And what I wanted to ask is, are there any plans to harness technology so that we actually have objective feedback with balanced perspectives that are coming through from Zimbabwe, informing individuals and motivating them to participate? Because if you look at television, radio, etc., they're very useful modalities to educate. The second question I wanted to ask is linked to health. It's known within health spheres that people that are well nourished have got better outcomes in education, they're able to concentrate, they're able to perform much better. And while you're talking about children in the rural areas, etc., I think there need to be initiatives that incorporate professionals that are working in those fields to look at how to improve nutrition and also to help individuals who don't have access to that. Because when you're looking at an individual, it needs to be wholesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and the Honourable Minister. Very great event. My question is a very practical question. I sit with a number of pastors and churches and churches, and we notice these are like pastors fraternals. We notice a present and a long-term commitment to donate and to give into the causes that are being highlighted here. Would like to find out from the Minister if the fund you have talked about can be made available so that people can be able to make practical steps to try to put the funding into that fund. Now, the issue of administration obviously is left to yourselves, but I think the growing need, the present need, is the need of finance. And the church world has been neglected, but it's actually a huge investor. Even if you look at the history of how schools were built, missionary schools, so it is, if you would avail to us the mechanism within which funding can be transferred. And my second question is going to be asked by my colleague. I'm actually, I think I'm a board of trustee in this organization called TME, which is an organizational charity providing education in 53 languages at the moment, including Venda and Suti. So I just wanted to get him to ask the question, and thank you. I was going to ask 2 questions, but I wanted to point the question.
No, it's actually fine. What we wanted to do is I've seen, we'll take 3 more questions, so that if your questions could be similar to what the other guys have asked.
It's not a question, it's just, can I just...
yeah, that's fine. So I'll get you, get the gentleman right at the back, and I'll get Viola here. So 3 more questions, Senator. No, if you can go ahead.
Okay. Actually, I just want to encourage the Senator because we all need encouragement. You know, being a cabinet minister, it seems to me, is like walking a tightrope. Anywhere in the world, being a cabinet minister in Zimbabwe appears to be like walking a tightrope that is slack on a windy day across the Victoria Falls. And I just want to say that when I listen to him speaking with such clarity, such passion, such transparency, I'm British and I look at our own cabinet and I see very few, if any, of that calibre. So it's just a word of encouragement. We came here today. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
If I could have gentlemen at the back there, one minute. Yes. Gentlemen right at the back, yeah. Right at the back.
Thank you very much, Senator, for giving us the chance to speak to you. I'm a teacher in the UK. I was a teacher for 16 years in Zimbabwe. So I've got a way of looking at Zimbabwe compared with what I experienced in the UK. You did mention something about the curriculum. I noticed that we used to do science investigations in high school. But here I teach in primary. Children in year 3, these are 7 to 8-year-olds, can plan an independent investigation. So I would like us to look at our curriculum, particularly in science and also in maths. Because here people are expected to come up with a maths policy that is communicated to the parents, to the children, so that everybody knows what is to be done at every stage. Is there any chance that the teachers who are in the diaspora could be part of development of teaching or education in Zimbabwe?
Thank you. Viola here.
Thank you for your time and being here with us. My question is really simple. I'm an entrepreneur and I've been blessed and quite successful in the UK. In terms of the curriculum in Zimbabwe, are you looking at inclusion of social enterprise or enterprise into the academies? Because here in the UK, that's what's been very successful, especially from primary to high school. You have young people who are very entrepreneurial. And I think as Zimbabweans, we've never actually learned the skill set of being enterprising, hence our businesses have always been startups and failures. And I think what I've seen here as I mentor in the schools here in the UK is that they've started at a very early age, and hence you have the Richard Bransons of the world.
I'm really being made to sing for myself tonight. Mrs. Dube, I took most of what you said really as a comment. I've made a particular note regarding the need for the Prime Minister and other cabinet members to take time to meet with the diaspora. And I do an undertaking that I will raise that and encourage that. I was not aware that the Ministry of Higher Education had been given the task of developing a diaspora policy. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I question whether that is the case. And all I can do is inquire. My understanding was that there is no diaspora policy, but you highlighted that need. The lady made a comment, I think, that the media has battered our self-esteem, and do we have any plans to harness technology to motivate people to come back? I don't think that once again, there are any specific policies. I think, and let me digress a moment. I had a meeting yesterday with the editor of the Daily Telegraph, and Minister Henry Bellingham, the British Minister of Africa, was present. And part of the problem that we face is that newspapers the world over pick on the negative stories because that sells newspapers. And yes, there is a lot of negative things happening in Zimbabwe, but it's not the only story. We have stabilized the economy. Inflation is down to 4%. All the schools are open. Clinics are getting better. And, you know, I'm not painting a rosy picture, but I'm just saying it's not just that negative picture. But the problem that we face is that the media, the world over, it's not just confined to Zimbabwe, does pick on the negative. It's their default. And it's very difficult to counteract that. I've tried in a small way, on my Facebook page, Twitter page, I try to focus on the positive. Because there is an enormous amount to be positive about. Just this team. Everyone was saying, oh, we didn't get any medals. But if you see the heroism displayed by our athletes, you know, take someone like Sharon Tavengwa, our marathon runner. Everyone focuses, oh, she pulled out after 27 laps. She shouldn't have run. But the reason she ran, she had a pre-existing injury. And she ran because she felt if she didn't run, she'd let the nation down. So she showed incredible courage. And what does the media say? Oh, another black day for Zimbabwe. Not saying, oh, my goodness, Sharon was outstandingly brave. So we've all got a role to play, but what I'm trying to convey is, yeah, you can try and use technology, but it's actually very difficult to counter what is very deep in the practice of journalism. And this isn't a criticism of journalists. That's what sells newspapers. Unfortunately, if you have a mass murderer who kills 40 people, that's going to get the front page of the newspaper. Yeah, but clearly we've got to try and harness it better. Health lead to better educational outcomes? Absolutely. Something that struck me, I've been looking at British academies, and I was in the States recently in Harlem. I went to Harlem and the Bronx in New York in November to look at charter schools. In America they have charter schools. And the key element of charter schools, they take homeless kids in those charter schools, and they provide them with at least one good meal a day, and they're seeing the most amazing educational outcomes. We used to have that. We used to have feeding schemes in Zimbabwe. We don't have the money at present. We're working with UNICEF to see whether we can reintroduce that, but it takes money. Gentlemen here in front, the question regarding pastors and churches. The Education Transition Fund is the mechanism that we've set up and can be used. It is only being used by governments and large donor organizations like OSISA at present to channel money through. But there's no reason why smaller amounts of money can't be consolidated and channeled through the Education Transition Fund. It is managed by UNICEF. UNICEF has offices in Britain and elsewhere. The problem, though, is UNICEF will not deal with little amounts of money. There needs to be a mechanism, and perhaps the diaspora can play that role in consolidating money and then channeling it through UNICEF. They charge a 7% administration fee, which is another downside to it. But we've demonstrated in the last 3 years a very good constructive relationship with UNICEF. And we're now moving the Education Transition Fund into phase 2. Phase 1 looked at stabilizing, and we're now looking at, for example, water sanitation